AEW Dynamite was pretty solid. In fact, dare I say, the best Dynamite I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, I've only been watching since Double or Nothing, but this was an excellent show. Was it perfect? No. There were a couple things that I didn't really care for. However, we'll talk about all that, but first I do gotta have a disclaimer. I was not able to watch all of Forbidden Door before watching Dynamite, unfortunately. I was watching on Sunday, and then I got called into work at the Mercedes Moné Maya World match. Therefore, I did not get to see the cage match. I know it's a circle cage now, and that looked really cool. And then Triple H is like, yeah, well, we'll do a Hell in the Cell. Triple H trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then I also missed, unfortunately, the Swerve and Will Ospreay match, plus the Mercedes Moné Maya World match. Didn't get to see them, and I was bummed about that. But my time is very, very limited, and when I got called into work, I just wasn't able. I had to choose. Do I watch Dynamite or do I catch up on Forbidden Door? I got spoiled with Forbidden Door, so I chose Dynamite. And I don't think it hurt my experience. I bet it would have enhanced my experience, but I don't think it hurt because, well, I really enjoyed Dynamite. The best part of the night actually happened right in the beginning. I loved that opening segment where Moxley tell Ospreay, hey man, we voted and you're in. And Will Ospreay takes the patch. At first, I wasn't sure if he was accepting it. I thought he was thinking about it, and we were going to get his answer later in the night, and I think they should have done that. I'll tell you why in a second, but he takes the patch, and he's like, okay, starts walks down the hall, and there's Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's, man, hey, how's it going? Congratulations. I'm proud of you. And then Will's like, you're not my dad. And he's like, I know you're looking at this patch. At some point in the show, I think it was here, he said, just because you gave up on your dream doesn't mean I'm going to give up on my dream. I'm going to do what it takes. And then we got MJF comes out, and MJF kind of has a confrontation with Kenny Omega, but kind of just looks right at Will, kind of blowing off Kenny Omega, and he's like, I'll see you at Wembley, All In, because Will Ospreay won at Forbidden Door, which I do believe was the right call. So Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and MJF are kind of in this little tangled web right here with Mox on the outside of it. I just really, really loved this backstage segment right there. And then we go right into MJF versus Mark Briscoe. I was shocked that this was the first match. Now, I guess I probably shouldn't be, because a couple of weeks ago, the first match of the night was Roosh versus MJF, but I'm just not used to this. Not used to just off to the races the moment things start. I'm wondering how everybody's getting in the building. I'm used to seeing all the wrestlers smiling with a cup of coffee and holding their belt really awkwardly as they walk into the building. So, it's weird that we're at minute 7, we've already had a banger segment, and we're going right into a banger match. We got Mark Briscoe versus MJF. I don't think anybody thought he was going to win, but I do think that we thought that this program was going to be drawn out a little more, in that the stipulation in the cage match was Mark Briscoe wins, he gets a title shot. And then they just do it immediately, which is kind of cool because I do think it tracks with Mark Briscoe's character. If he's allowed to say when he wants the shot, I could see Mark saying, yeah, I want it right now. Let's go. So we have this match. I think in minute 1, maybe minute 2, Mark is bleeding like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. WrestleMania 13. There was blood everywhere. Mark Briscoe bled so much. MJF was wearing really white pants, tighty whities and things around his arms. They were it was disgusting when it was all said and done. And even bonus points for MJF. He didn't change. Even 2 hours later, he still came out with the blood-soaked outfit. But what we had was just a really good match. At one point, Mark Briscoe actually slipped. And I'm like, did he slip on his own blood? Did he slip because he's having blood loss? So I was a little concerned there. and there was no direct contact with the chair, but at one point, MJF was on the table that they got out, and Mark Briscoe did a really good elbow. I like his elbow. Like, I think an elbow from the top rope is a very underrated, underappreciated move in today's age. And if you can do a good one, I will always appreciate a good elbow off the top rope. And Mark Briscoe does a good one. I felt like that should have been a disqualification, or they should have just said this was a no DQ match. I do think they should have probably just said that. But whatever. And he kicked out of the J driver, which I guess was the first time he did it, and that was kind of a long-term story that they've been telling. And so that was, that was cool, which probably means that these two are not going to meet for a very long time, if ever again. And MJF wins. I do like that MJF is a very strong heel. At some point last night, I think someone said that they believed that Kenny Omega was the best wrestler in the world, and I disagreed. And I started thinking, who would be the best wrestler in the world? I'm talking WWE, anything, and I mean, I don't really follow New Japan and stuff, so for me, the best wrestler in the world is pretty much someone in TNA, AEW, WWE, NXT. Honestly, I think it's MJF, in my opinion, and when I say wrestler, I'm talking the whole package, because I feel that wrestling is more than just wrestling. I know, like, AEW is where the best wrestle, but wrestling to me is secondary to storylines, characters, and all that kind of stuff. But I still think MJF might be the best wrestler. He can talk, he can get the crowd going, he has emotions, he can talk on the fly. When I watch his interviews, I can tell he's making that stuff up on the spot, and then he actually wrestles really well, and he can wrestle all different styles, from pretty bloody matches to not. Like, the only one, people will probably hate me for this, I would say Drew McIntyre would probably be number 2 to MJF's number 1, and there would even be a gap between those. MJF is firing on all cylinders right now. I need to think about that more, but my gut reaction is, if someone were to ask me right this second, I would actually say MJF is the best wrestler in the world right now. What do you guys and gals think? Tell me in the comments below. Who is your best wrestler? He starts beating up Briscoe more after the match, which is hilarious because he's just doing it out of spite now. He won. It's over. He doesn't ever have to deal with Briscoe again, but what the heck? I'll just beat him up some more. Kenny Omega will come in for the save, and then he's like, MJF, let's wrestle tonight. Are you chicken? And I'm like, come on, that's dumb. Like, I mean, why would MJF say I'm going to wrestle 2 times in one night? That would be so dumb of MJF. Kenny Omega should have just said, let's go next week. He shouldn't have said tonight. He should have said, next week I want you. But either way, he said no. But then he's like, he had a devious idea. I'll put my title on the line, but you gotta say you will never wrestle for the belt again if you don't win. And that was cool because, I mean, for one, actually, I don't know. I'm very conflicted by this because I don't like the idea of taking somebody out of the main event picture for the rest of their life. I don't mind if it's like, you can never wrestle me again for the title, or for 1 year you can't wrestle for the title, but forever? I don't know about that. However, it does raise the stakes when I've seen that AEW actually abides by their rules. You know, WWE will have a retirement match, and 3 months later, they'll be wrestling again. Cody Rhodes, he had the stipulation. He lost. He never fought for the title again. Adam Page, I guess he had the stipulation earlier in the year. So far, he hasn't, and that becomes the running thread throughout the show. Will Kenny say yes? Will he say no? Will he go for this? Kenny Omega playing this character right now that feels like he's at the tail end of his career, and he's like, can I do it? Should I risk it all for one more chance? One more chance. He's even talking to the Young Bucks later, saying, you know, when I did it before, when I won the title before, I changed as a person. I didn't like that person. I want to do it again, but I want to do it again as this person, this who I really am. I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror. And then the Young Bucks, I'm not sure which one, Nick or Zach. Is it Zach? Nick or... I don't think it's Zach. People are going to be really mad at me. I hate sometimes you guys and gals, you comment in the comments comments like, if you're going to be doing AEW reviews, you should really know their names. And they say it a little more mean too. But, and that's even a valid point, but at the end of the day, I'm just a moron. So, Nick and Zach, oh gosh, how am I forgetting the Young Bucks? I know it's not Zach. Nick and, I'm totally going to get roasted for this. Well deserved. Feel free to hate me. Nick and Zach, I forget which one was saying it, but, they were like, dude, the Elite has already fallen twice to this. We don't want you to fall to this either. Kenny's like, well, you don't believe in me? You gotta believe in me. Even Will will come and talk to him, and Will will be like, I believe in you. I believe in you. We'll talk about more of this at the end. Another segment that happened here was we have Chris Jericho, Nick and Zach, Kit. No, not Kit. Kit Wilson. That's who I'm thinking of because they all do that. We have Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. I guess I don't hate this, but I don't like it either. I'm kind of very indifferent to this feud, which I guess is just whatever then. And that's fine. You don't have to like everything. So I'm just very indifferent to this feud. And they had another pull-apart brawl, which I was like, I'm not a big fan of pull-apart brawls. This is a little unfair because I'm bringing my WWE bias over to AEW, but WWE really spammed the pull-apart brawl earlier this year, and because Triple H, he finds something, a story plot point, and then he just spams it all the time, and so, like, I'm really not, I really reject, I get this visceral feeling when I see a pull-apart brawl, and it's not really AEW's fault, but at the same time, it's how I feel, and so I didn't like that they were getting pulled apart like that. Andrade quit the Don Callis family. I guess he turned at the cage match, which was probably a really good call. Andrade's getting really good pops right now. Like, I am really hoping that this is the time for Andrade to finally break into the main event scene. Other than his NXT run with Zelina Vega, I don't think I've ever really cared about Andrade until right now. I've seen this guy on TV off and on for about, 6 years? And I've just been like, he's just, I didn't care about him. Just didn't care about him at all. Here and there, and I always appreciated that he could wrestle well. But right now, his character is really good, and I'm really enjoying that character of his. And he comes out, he says he's done with the Don Callis family, and then they just attack him. And I like that. I like that Don Callis didn't come out and just say, this is the worst mistake you've ever made. I just like Don Callis was like, oh yeah? He turned on us? Fine. Everybody go beat him up. Why not? You're a horrible human, and you have about a stable of horrible human. Use those horrible humans to be horrible. And they just destroy Andrade, the machine, Brian Cage. His outfit looks like he just woke up. He's like in his pajamas. His hair's all crazy. Make that guy a cup of coffee so he can get some pants on. I'm glad Andrade's in a storyline. A really good actual storyline. And I love that the crowd is connected with him. Just goes to show, just keep at it, people. This will lead into Kevin Knight, the Jet versus Lio Rush. Lio Rush has a backpack. Lio Rush is the weird guy, and I guess he has now his own Ring of Honor, black belt, and they wrestle each other. It was good stuff. I don't know. I've enjoyed Lio Rush more in the past, but it was still really good stuff here. And the right person won. The Jet won. You had Speedball on the outside. At one point, Darby Allin comes out, and Darby Allin starts saying, I'm going to do what I did to you at Forbidden Door, more of that. I don't know what he did. However, Kevin Knight starts saying, oh yeah, you want a shot at my title? You can. And then Don Callis grabs the microphone from him. Now, I've been very harsh on this. Well, maybe not very harsh, but maybe a little stern on this relationship between the Jet and Don Callis, because I was like, I don't think the Jet needed it. However, tonight, I think he needed it. I really liked these two tonight. So hopefully I can eat my words and be like, this is a good pairing. I'm not going to do it yet because out of the 4 weeks that I've seen them together, this is only the first week that I thought that they were like, this was a good idea, like a great idea, not just a good idea. Before I was just like, it's an idea, but now I was like, I liked this tonight. Don Callis took it and he's like, no, he's not giving you a title shot. You're a criminal. You should be in jail, Darby. And I like that because it shows that Kevin Knight still kind of like, he's not just a chicken. He's not just a chicken heel. And I don't mind chicken heels, but not everybody has to be a chicken heel. So he's not a chicken heel, but Don Callis is going to do what's best for Don Callis and Kevin Knight. And that's why you get a manager like Don Callis, somebody who's the brains of the operation. So tonight, these two worked really well for me, and I kind of hope we play more into this. Let Kevin Knight be a little more spontaneous, while Don Callis is always trying to bring him back. I did not like this though. Moxley and Ospreay versus Christian and Johnson. I don't know who they are, but I felt this should have been a squash match. I really do. This went way too long. I was like, how are these two? You're going to hate me, but this is what I thought. How are these two nobodies taking on Will Ospreay, the guy who's going to be main eventing Wembley Stadium, and Jon Moxley, of the Death Riders, the guy who held the company hostage for a year? I was like, why is this taking so long? I get it. Like, I do understand. On one hand, it's really cool that Jon Moxley, with such the star power that he holds, and Will Ospreay, that they're willing to put over younger talent by allowing them to have long matches. But at the same time, there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place. I don't think last night was it. I think this should have been a dominant showing out for the Death Riders. That said, they win, and this is where I think Will Ospreay should have accepted the patch. Like, he should have been given the offer earlier the night, and I think he should have accepted the patch right here, where they were like, they took the mic and said, all right, Will, time, it's decision time. Are you joining or not? And then Will could have accepted, and then they could have hugged or did their ring around the rosy, and then the crowd could have celebrated with Will accepting the Death Rider patch. Now, nothing's ruined, but I think they could have done that story better if they would have extended it just a little. Maybe cut the match by like 4 or 5 minutes so we could have had this segment. Not the end of the world. We had Mercedes Moné. She did a video. She won, 2-time ever Owen Hart champion, and she did a video bragging that she won, and also the fact that she's going to go to Wembley and win that title. I think it was a miss that either Mercedes wasn't here to brag or Tekla wasn't here to brag. Maybe they could have been having that video, and then when it was done, Tekla was just in the ring, and she starts bragging about how she's like, I got a video too. And then she shows the video of her beating up the Stardom president, and then she says, and that's just a start because Mercedes Moné, you're next, or something like that. Tekla is like, she is so unhinged. It's hilarious, and I love it. And I think we should have had the women's champion on this tonight, because it's just weird that it wasn't to me. We did have like a 6-women challenge for the TNT title, TBS title, not sure which one it is. It's elimination style. You had Haley Cameron, the one who used to have the puppet. She's the one that people got the most mad at me about because I kept calling her Supergirl girl. But I really like her character, and I like that she tried to team up with someone else. I think Persephone, and I really think they should have I would have loved if they would have teamed up for like 3 eliminations, but they didn't. I think she was the first to be eliminated. Queen Aminata, she was my pick. She was the one I was really hoping to win, but she kind of she was dominating, but then they tricked her and then they just rolled her up. I think she probably should have crashed out afterwards, but because we had the ending that we did, I understand why they didn't have her crash out, because when it was all said and done, I don't remember everybody's name. It was Statlander. She pins Persephone. Then Statlander and somebody else, her name starts with an S, they're in the ring. They fought a couple weeks ago in a really brutal match where they broke a light bulb like one of those long light bulbs on Statlander. She was bleeding a lot, and Statlander won that match. So you're like, oh, here we go, a rematch, kind of, sort of. And I think she's in an ankle lock. Statlander crawls to the ring rope, but then Persephone hits her with the belt, and then she kind of laughs. That allows the other one to put a submission hold on Statlander, but she's out cold, so the ref just says, yeah, we're done, and that's the end of the match. I wanted the Puppet Girl to win, or Queen Amidala to win, Aminata. I wanted those two to win, but they didn't. It's fine, it's whatever. Oh, I like, so Christian Cage and Edge are talking, and Christian's like, why is Jay White here? I got a problem with that guy. I have no idea what Christian's problem is, but I love this Christian. I love that he's so bitter and angry and just hates everybody. And then Edge is like, well, you owed me a favor. He's like, yeah, well, I got a problem with him. He walks away. Jay White will then go to the ring, and he has the Bang Bang group with him, the Bang Bang Gang. A lot of people use guns, finger guns in AEW. You got the Bang Bang Gang, you got Bandito, you got Kenny Omega. Lots of why don't they meet at noon one day and have a shootout to see who gets to keep the finger bangs? But anyways, Jay White, I don't really know anything about the dude. I know he's from New Japan and stuff like that, but like I have no connection with him whatsoever. So like this, I was just like, okay, so I'm watching him. So I made fun of the Young Bucks about this a couple weeks ago, so I gotta make fun of Jay White about it. When it comes to the dogs, do not take the low-hanging fruit and say who let the dogs out. I don't know why, but that has always bothered me for like the last 20 years when people say, well, who let the dogs out? That's just a personal thing for me, though. But Jay White stuff, like, I have no opinion whatsoever because I don't know what's going on here. It seemed like he had a huge pop at Forbidden Door, so I'm just going to have to say I'm ignorant to what's going on with Jay White. White, right? Jay White? Jay Lethal? No, Jay White. I'm ignorant to what's going on with Jay White, so I can't make a comment on it. It didn't ruin my experience. It didn't enhance my experience. And then we will have, at this point, I do like, though, that it looks like Jay White is calling out stuff like, he was like, yeah, when I left last, everybody hated the Death Riders. So I like that, though. I like that AEW has a long memory. It pays off nerds like me. I'm very much somebody who likes continuity and stuff, and so when you pay off stuff from, like, years ago, like that stuff, I love that. The devil's in the details, and AEW pays attention to the details. Eventually, though, we end the show with Kenny Omega coming out. He accepts the stipulation. He's like, do I got one more in me? Let's do this. And then MJF attacks him. And then we have another pull-apart brawl. Definitely did not like having one pull-apart brawl, let alone two pull-apart brawls. This pull-apart brawl was done very well, but we should not have two in one show. That said, Kenny Omega accepted, and MJF now has a chance to put 3 of the Elite on his never can challenge for a title again list. I bet Adam Page comes out next week or something like that. I'm thinking Adam Page is going to come out. I think some shenanigans are afoot, which is fine. It's stacked next week. The only other criticism that I have on this show is that Kyle Fletcher and Takesha weren't a part of it. I know people have told me that Takesha is like, he has like 3 other contracts. He goes to New Japan, CMLL and stuff like that. That's fine. I have nothing against that. But when it comes to me watching AEW and me seeing a huge heel turn from Kyle Fletcher onto Takesha at Double or Nothing and really just very sparse. This is the only instance that I feel that Tony Khan is not doing long-term booking, but he's doing drawn-out booking, and I think this is a miss. I have people telling me left and right how Kyle Fletcher's the future, but I'm not seeing Kyle anywhere for more than like 3 or 4 seconds on shows. So that's kind of weird to me. And I was really, really hyped about Takesha. Really hyped about Takesha and wanted to see that. And now they're wrestling next week, and I'm like very, very low hyped for that because I'm just like, okay, well, he's just going to leave again, right? He's just going to leave again for like 3 weeks, come back. So I don't like when WWE does it, and I don't like when AEW does it. Thankfully, I've only seen it with Takesha and Kyle Fletcher. So, that's just that. It's just an opinion. Don't worry. Still loved this show. This was an excellent Dynamite. 1 out of 10 on the chop meter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to give it a straight 9. This was a really, really good Dynamite. All right, let's do like 3 hot takes. This review went a little too long. That Lemur says, I've heard this before from somewhere, but Mark Briscoe is now officially in the old Eddie Kingston role. The blue-collared everyday man, upper mid-carder babyface that you can't help but cheer for thanks to their promos. That's definitely not a bad place to be, though, if you think about it. Captain Stark says this might... Nick Jackson. Matt and Nick Jackson. Sorry. I'm not even here. Captain Stark says this might get super heat, but Kenny Omega should lose next week. MJF and Will Ospreay is just too big. So he's saying you want it at the big show All In. I mean, I could see that, but like from what I'm understanding, Adam Page and MJF, that might be a pretty good solid marquee match for All In as well. I can understand why you want MJF versus Will at All In. In fact, I kind of want it more too. However, I don't want to knock Kenny Omega out of the title picture forever. And who knows, maybe we get there. What if Kenny Omega wins next week and then MJF just beats him again at Redemption? I don't know. What if? Teddy Boy Ward says, I was there tonight and tomorrow. We hassled the heck out of Don Callis when he sat for commentary. One heck of a fun night for $145, the same price as an upper-level WWE ticket. Yes, definitely a value. I went like 2 or 3 weeks ago, got myself a really good seat for a really good deal. Kenny LJS says, AEW sucks. I bet a lot of you get mad when somebody says that, but you know what? Let them. You know why? I personally wish I had more haters. I wish I had more haters. You know why? Because haters are, ironically, your most loyal fan base. They will always show up to hate on you. But guess what happens? That's engagement. Engagement pushes videos and posts out to more people. And the more people that see it, well, those posts will attract non-haters. And then the product will grow. So, hey, Kenny, feel free to keep hating on AEW. You are actually helping the AEW cause every single time you post to say your opinion. Feel free to hate me too. Like, literally go on all my videos and say how much I suck. I don't care. All right, boys. All right, girls. If you're just exclusive to AEW, I'll see you next Thursday. If you watch all of my videos, well, I'll see you tomorrow. And please, you know what? Even if you are exclusive to AEW, watch all my videos. Just mute the WWE ones and just let them play out. Help me grow this channel, because the more the channel grows, the more AEW content I can do, because eventually I'll be able to quit that day job. All right, boys. All right, girls. See you. Bye.